Hello, Mr. Croft. How are we, mate?
That's your boy, mate. It's a pleasure, mate. Thank you for having me on, mate. Because I've actually never done anything like this before, so I appreciate.
Nice. It's all good, mate. Like to kick off the show a little bit with, obviously, with it being a brew with. Talk me a little bit about your brew.
Mate, like I said, I thought about the monster. I thought about the energy drink. I was going to walk down the shop and get the energy drink, but I was like, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not a brew, is it? So, very very simple coffee, mate. Drop of oat milk. I'm an drop of oat milk kind of guy. So a few little vanilla flavor drops, low calorie flavor drops in there to sweeten it up. That's my morning coffee anyway.
I'll be honest, mate. I did half expect you to turn up with a monster, like
Yeah,
genuinely.
but I promise you I was going to do it. I was going to do it. And I thought, just, it's not a brew, is it? It's not a brew.
Good man, good man. I'm going for the. I'll just go for the old. It's just like a little, like get the little, the stuff from Lidl, and then just whack it in the cafetiere. Down you go, bosh.
Easy, innit?
Easy as, mate. Easy as.
I spend too much money, mate, on Costa. Like Costa's down the road for me.
Yeah.
Honestly, they take me to the cleaners, mate. They Costa down the road.
What is your favorite? What is your favorite coffee kind of place? Like we often go to Nero quite a bit. What are
Yeah,
you?
I think Nero's a good one, but this is not any near. There's not any close by. I don't
Yeah.
mind. I've always I'm an about whether I prefer Costa or Starbucks. I feel like some days I prefer Costa, some days I prefer Starbucks, but at the minute Costa's literally around the corner for me. So yeah, I can't.
Easy,
Yeah.
easy. Mate, to be fair, I was thinking before this, I was actually thinking, I don't actually think I've seen you in the flesh since. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you go to a festival called Days Like This in Sydney?
Yeah.
That is when I last saw you. That
That's
is,
one.
I was literally thinking about. I was like, I'm just trying to think the last time I actually saw you. I don't remember a lot about that day.
Yeah, that was a heavy day. That was a heavy day.
Is so a little bit about us then, mate. Is there anything? Obviously, you spent a bit of time there as well. I'm not going to go crazy into it, but what was you up to when you was out there? What was your kind of?
I don't know, mate. Australia was a bit of a mad one for me, mate, because it was an like I went as most people do, mate. To be fair, I went there to get away from England, like to solely get away from England, and I didn't do anything that was where my mates all went sort of like 9 to 5 working in Sydney. You know, that wasn't the reason why I went there, mate. Like I wanted to kind of not saying 9 to 5 is not going to you're not going to enjoy yourself, you are, but like I wanted to enjoy myself as much as possible. So any jobs that would have me, I'd take and try and get as much money I could for the weekend. But it was more for the experience, mate, and 100% to sort of get away. Obviously, we met each other on the farm and stuff, which was good.
Yeah.
Which
It was
was
good crack, mate. There, it was a great experience. I think I think I would definitely recommend anybody to do it. I think you learn a lot about yourself going out there and doing that. But what was it about wanting to get away from England, mate? Like was it just kind of you need a little bit more?
oh, mate. To be honest, right, without getting too deep, mate. I basically my last term of uni, which was right before I went to Oz, my final year, and then I really quickly lost my mum. So once that had happened, I sort of had summer. One of my best mates was going to Australia, and then I thought, you know what, this is like
the opportunity,
perfect opportunity, perfect excuse to not be here. Obviously, it's a bit of a funny one as well because my background, well, I grew up in Hong Kong when I was a kid, so I've had a lot of.
I wanted to get onto this as well, yeah.
Yeah, so like, mate, super multicultural place. Like a lot of my friends growing up were Aussies, so like when I went out there, I knew a lot of people as well. So that was kind of the main reason. But again, mate, it was also it was sort of for, mate, I suppose like life experience as well, and kind of escaping reality a little bit and just enjoying traveling as well. But mate, it was the best. It was without a doubt the best 2 years. It was a challenging 2 years, but it was the best 2 years. And I think by the end of it, I got to the point where I was kind of happy I'd done it, and I kind of like I could have stayed longer. I think. Could you have stayed longer, or were you like done?
I was close, mate. I very nearly took the sponsorship. So I was working for a shotcreting firm in Sydney, and I was earning quite good money. I was quite content. Obviously, spending 75% of it on a weekend because it's a bit more expensive out there. And they said, right, Josh, come in on Friday. when he signed the dotted line. Like, well, we're going to sponsor you, and I was like, all right, for this. I went in on Friday, and then I'm sort of looking down, thinking, I'm not sure. I got a little bit of homesickness, so
Yeah,
I opted. Yeah, I was all geared for staying up, mate, and staying out there, and then I just decided, to change my mind at the last minute, really.
it's tough, mate, isn't it? It's such a big decision.
What was you up to then, aside from the farm? What was your kind of?
Mate, so when I went to Sydney, I just worked at a. Did you ever? Were you Sydney based for?
Yeah,
Yeah. Did you ever go to the Glenmore Hotel? It was in that.
yeah,
That
yeah,
rooftop bar, maybe in the rocks. I worked there for like a long time.
yeah.
Obviously did the farm. Obviously did the farm work. I did a 5 month stint, like a lot of the farm boys did, doing door to door knocking,
Yeah, yeah.
people's gas and electricity. That was mate. Oh god, you could write a book on a few of the stories.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
But again, those sort of experiences, mate, like I'm 100% very, very, very grateful for. And I think it was a case of doing stuff like that now to get out your system. Because like I said, when I came back home, mate, I was faced with a pretty harsh reality anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? And then I guess, like, what would you say from those experiences of like the work you were doing? Like, you were doing like door knocking, weren't you? There's obviously some take homes from that. What would you say, like, the biggest kind of
Well,
win?
I mean, that one specifically, mate, like that's sales in its
Yeah,
like purest
Bob.
form, mate, like purest form. You're not going to get anything more challenging than that. So I mean, 100% in that sense. Bearing in mind, mate, I weren't the best at the job either, and I'll be honest, I didn't put loads of effort into it either. But I mean, you took a lot of like, I think people skills is a big one, and obviously making a very good kind of got a very short window to make a very good first impression.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also trying to be as persuasive as possible that you're offering someone a good service
A
too.
good
So
service, yeah.
I think in that sense, yeah, it was helpful. But mate, part of me wishes now, because it would have put myself in a better position. Like, I think business wise, anyway, if I'd actually just tried a bit harder and like gave it a bit more, mate, because I got a bit. I was coasting a little bit with that job, to be honest.
Yeah. It's easy done, mate. You get quite, you get quite comfortable with it, and you remember, like you say, you're there for the reasons of experiencing things. So, like, it's not on the front of your mind excelling in that position, is it really? So you just, like you say, a lot of it's living for the weekend, really. So talk to me a little bit about Hong Kong then. So what I want to know is, I want to know about this advert. That's what I've been
Yeah,
thinking
no,
of.
it's a funny one, isn't it? It's it's a funny one. I was born here, moved over when I was 2, and then I did a 9-year stint, so I was 11. And mate, honestly, I was very, very lucky, mate, in terms of like that sort of childhood experience. I was like very, I was privileged in the sense of like, in Hong Kong, it was, at the time anyway, it was super, like the community I lived in, it was like super safe, kids could be like flipping, 7 years old running out on the streets at like 9, 10 o'clock at night. It wouldn't matter. So it was super safe. I think it's definitely it's 100% shaped me to sort of, I suppose, the person I am today, in the sense of I surrounded myself with people from a lot of different backgrounds. It's really multicultural. Really, it's obviously, when you haven't been to
I've been
Asia.
I've been to Asia, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously Hong Kong's quite cosmopolitan, really westernized. Loads of English people, Americans, Welsh, Aussie, South African, Kiwi,
Really?
Canadians, American. Yeah, mate. That's why it's one of the things I'm grateful for, mate. Where I'm not far off, right? If I'll go to most places, a lot of places in the world anyway, and I'll know someone from that. Like, I'll bump into someone, or I'll know someone from
Yeah.
there anyway. Just because Hong Kong's also not the place where some people do, but because you get a lot of expats, they come and go. They're not there for like their whole life. They'll be there for a period of time and then they'll go back home. So obviously, people are spread out all over the place. So, oh yeah, I'm really, really grateful, mate, in terms of that sort of childhood experience with the Oreo thing. Anyway, that was a funny one where
That was brilliant.
I was actually at a rugby tournament, and some like Chinese lady came up to me and just asked, "Oh, can we speak?" I didn't really understand what she was saying, but she was like, asking me something. I took her to my mum, and it was to do like an audition for something. So after the rugby tournament finished, I think I must have been about 9 maybe. After the rugby tournament finished, I went to do this audition at this place, and then like a few weeks later, turns out they'd narrowed it down to the final two. The final two. I wish I could say I was a thriving young actor, mate, but I wasn't. And they narrowed it down to the final two. It's me and this other Irish kid, and they took us in for this like last final audition thing. And luckily, I got the role.
Yeah.
Funny, mate. Very, very funny. I whipped that video out sort of once a blue moon just for.
I was gonna say, I look forward. Yeah, it popped up. It popped up not long ago, and I saw it on your socials. I thought, I still didn't. I was really curious to know how it came about and kind of stuff like that. But do you not think that was the start of your TV career?
Mate, you know what? It's funny, mate. After that as well, I started getting like invited to like things and stuff to do afterwards, and mate, I was so obsessed with like sport was my life when I was a kid, and the thought of missing football training or rugby training, like for like some flipping act, I couldn't do it, mate. And let's be honest, mate, we've seen the video. I don't think Hollywood would have come calling anytime soon.
Oh, I wish we could pull that up now. That'd be good. It was good. It's good to experience that again. That makes it something else that you've at that age as well to put yourself in that position. Do you know what I mean? Like that's going to have molded you to some extent who you are now.
I wasn't like that. I was not confident in that sense of being in front of a camera, mate. I can tell you that, and that's actually one thing as well. Like obviously in terms of what we're both doing now with our job. And like having to talk to a that's taken me a long time, mate. A long time to like be comfortable in that sense, consistently talking to a camera anyway. Because at the start, it's not.
And what do you think it is about that? That's uncomfortable. Would you say, What would you say? Like, would you say somebody is just born to be able to talk on camera, or would you?
It's I do think that because. I think it comes down to a lot of your personality traits, to be honest. I like to think I'm a bit of an introverted extrovert. I don't know. I'm somewhere in the middle, mate. But there is a lot of things that I don't know. It really does take time to build up mate. To get confident in anything, the only way you're going to get better is you got to do it. And
you've got to fail.
You've
got to get it wrong, and you've got to just keep going. Try and be as consistent as you can. I'm with you on that, though. Like you say, the first time you start making videos for things, just for listening, people will probably know already my background of coaching, but Crofty is also coaching as well. But yeah, like when you got that camera in front of you and you just, you have to get sweaty palms. You got about a million outtakes,
million ums. I've probably said a lot of ums on this podcast already, but
I always say it's just part of who you are, mate, isn't it? But no, it's good. And when you was in, so you mentioned a little bit about sport. So was you was big into rugby, right? Yeah, would you?
Rugby was my main one, mate. Yeah, rugby and football. But yeah, kind of those are the two that I like grew up playing. It was football first and rugby shortly after. And then by sort of 15, 16, I kind of had to, or 15, no, maybe 15, I had to make the decision to kind of bin one off and go on with the other. And rugby was the one I was doing better at anyway. So, I didn't play to like England standard or anything like that. But
you played at a decent level, didn't you?
Yeah, I played at a decent level. Yeah. So that was, sport was like it still is my life, mate. And I think it was one of the main reasons anyway, mate. I became a PT as well, just having that background. And I think a lot of people who maybe are into sports, like when they don't really know what to do, if they go to the gym a little bit, like they end up falling into that category of maybe trying to be, you know, personal trainer or whatever. So yeah, sport was my life up to probably going away to Australia anyway.
Yeah. And is sport quite a big thing like in Hong Kong? Was that like
Massive, mate?
yeah,
Massive, yeah.
wow.
And Hong Kong's, don't know if I found it a bit different in England, but Hong Kong was good in the sense that you could multitask, you could play everything.
Yeah.
You could play everything. And then when I came back to England, you kind of had to make it. It's difficult, mate, because everything clashes and you have to kind of choose one or the other. I actually, when I came back to England to play like club side stuff, I actually initially started playing football for the first few years.
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't play club rugby. And then I was playing football and rugby at school. And then again, I had to just make a decision. There was a cut-off point, maybe like 15 or something. I had to.
Was it the social? Was it the social side of things that
the social side's funny, mate. But you know what? Oh mate, I just loved. I was obsessed. I was obsessed with rugby in the sense of like, it's all I'd like in terms of like you, mate. It's all I'd watch, all I'd do. The telly. There was not. I never watched. I'm not a movie person, mate. I'm not a massive TV series person. I don't really watch Netflix that much. Like it was. I still do. It's like as still the case now. But sport was. Like, sit down.
Spend more time on YouTube.
Yeah, mate. Honestly, YouTube. My God, I've put some. How was it? But yeah, rugby was just the one where kind of a bit obsessed with, but I wasn't obsessed in the sense of like because I was naturally okay at it. I weren't someone, mate, where you saw me doing. I weren't doing kicking practice after training or anything like that, and that was also like should have been my role and stuff like that in the team. I didn't gym. I didn't go to the gym, mate. Like a gym was a funny one where training. I was not a gym person, mate, at school.
Really?
Nah, not all, mate. Like lunchtime gym sessions for rugby, I'd be avoiding that at all costs. That was kind of a tiny bit later on, but I think maybe if I put a bit more effort into that side of stuff and stuff maybe like after training, like maybe could have
gone a bit further.
Yeah, I don't know.
Some people say that the sport picks them based on obviously like their composition and stuff. Like I read it somewhere. I don't know if it was like a James Smith quote or something he'd mentioned about how you play rugby because you've got big shoulders. You don't play. So like basically you play in the sport because of obviously the size of you are already, if that makes sense. Yeah. So but no, that's good. So then once rugby obviously finished all that, and then you went off to uni and stuff like that, and then why coaching, mate? Why you was into the gym a little bit?
Like I said, mate, that's mate, again, like I went through like I was one of them where I went through like especially maybe 16 to 18, went through like I do a few dumbbell curls in my bedroom, mate, when I was 16. I bought a pair of dumbbells when I was 16 and started doing some curls.
We all did it.
Mate, and then maybe like 17, 18, I was kind of probably more so avoiding the gym for like rugby lunchtimes, but I would do the odd thing. And then uni was again like I was probably a bit of a binge gym goer in terms of like I do like your little 8-week stint where I'm like all in, and then I'd been it off for 6 months as like a lot of people do, and then I'd go again, and then summer would come around and I'd probably go to the gym again. But it wasn't it wasn't something I was like obsessed with, but it was kind of that situation, mate, where when I lost my mum, mate, and for people who know me personally, you know, fucking hell, it's not, you know, no one losing any parent is good, mate, but that she was such a big part of my life that, you know, I think, like I said, if you ask people closely, who are close to me, you probably wouldn't have wanted that to happen to me. I don't want it to happen to anyone. But
no, I know.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? But because we were like that, like she was, 90% of like my life at the time.
How did you like? So like How did you come on from that? Like, what was
No,
everybody?
mate, mate, it's taken me, mate, a lot. So I've never spoken about this online anyway, so
Yeah, yeah, no, you don't have to, mate.
it's
You
taken me a
don't
long
have to.
time, mate, to be in a position where I can kind of
Yeah, sure.
openly talk about this anyway. But you know, after that happened, I spent like a good few weeks indoors. But the first thing I did, when I left my flat that I was living at the time, I went to the gym. I went to the gym, and for like a 12-week period through summer where didn't really want to go out, didn't really want to see people. I did, but I kind of wanted to knock that on the head a little bit. The gym gave me focus, mate. It gave me a routine, and to be honest, it gave me a bit of escape. It gave me escapism as well. It gave me escapism, and I kind of just like from that point on, I became a bit. Become a bit obsessed with it, and the kind of that monotony of having that routine and structure, and then that kind of led up, mate, to like going away to Australia as well. And that was the one thing. So when I came back from Oz, that was the one thing where I kind of like sat down and I was at a bit of a crossroads. Like, okay, I've got, I ended up getting a 2-1 at uni. I went to Australia. I didn't do anything that was career driven in my eyes anyway. Not stuff that I was like super passionate about.
Yeah.
I just wanted jobs to get by, and I came back, and I just sort of. It took me a while, mate, to be honest. Like when I came back, I think, I don't know, maybe a lot of people go through it, that sort of post-travel depression.
Yeah, you get a bit of a 100%.
And I didn't really want to be back in England. I kind of knew what was coming my way when I came back to England. I was like ready. I was kind of expecting this like wave to come crashing down on me. And then it took me a while to like take a bit of time out to sort of like self-reflect and put into perspective, okay, what do you want to do? You can't keep running away forever. Like you kind of need to face this a little bit. So what was the one thing that was consistent and constant in my life over the last sort of 2-3 years? Mate, it was training, and it was where I was spending all my energy as well, in terms of, like you would do in terms of, listening to podcasts, YouTube, whatever it may be. That was the one thing that was, that remained a constant. So that was when I made the decision, mate, to get the old PT.
Yeah. I think, mate, there's a lot of pressure on us, especially when you've come from, I don't know about you, but like a lot of my friends had bought houses when I was kind of out there. And like you almost coming back and you're thinking like there's a lot of pressure on you to sort of figure out what you want to do. And even now, like speak to people and they're like, I still don't really know what I want to do. And I'm like, well, you've got to really just try and, like you say, what you said there, I thought that was amazing because like you found out what got you ticking, what gets you going, what and what you put your energy in obviously grows, doesn't it? So it's like a lot of people struggle with that, don't they? You know what I mean? Like trying to find out what it truly is from within.
100%,
So
mate. And
I think
just
that's
on what you said there as well, that was another thing, mate, where like you come back from Oz and nothing's changed. Everyone's doing the same thing. Everyone's in the same routine. Everyone's in the same bubble. Like everyone's doing the same thing. Nothing's changed. But the thing that I think I struggle with, and I know obviously a lot of other people who maybe go traveling and come back struggles with is it's where you've taken that few years stint away. I felt like at the time, shit, all my mates are like 6 years ahead of me. Like, people have been in jobs since they left school. So maybe some people might have moved out, like, and I'm stuck at home. Like, it's just me and my old man in a flat. I didn't feel like I've got anything to show for it. And I was sort of like, shit, what do I do from here? So yeah, it was a funny old period, mate. It took me ages, mate. To be honest, again, not a lot of people know this about me, mate. I didn't work for a year, mate, when I came back to England.
Yeah.
I didn't work for 1 year. Like, I luckily I had a lot of money
cash.
saved.
Yeah.
I had a lot of money saved in the sense that the old switching over people's gas and electricity.
The old door knocking it paid off, mate.
Yeah, I was lucky in that sense, but mate, it was a big struggle, mate. Big struggle. I did 6 months counselling, like private counselling, mate. Like it took me a long time to kind of sort myself out and figure myself out anyway, in terms of, what do I want to do, what's my identity, what am I passionate about. So yeah, like I said, it's you kind of look back and self-reflect now. It's kind of mad thinking about it, but yeah.
What do you think about the importance of self-reflection then, mate? Like, I don't think like looking back on, like obviously we're into a new year now, so it's kind of a good time to sort of talk about it. Why do you think it's so important to kind of look back?
Well, mate, it's probably the biggest thing people don't do, right? Because we're always we're always we're always looking for the sort of next thing. So yeah, I think it's probably something people suck at. They suck at it. They suck at kind of measuring backwards, and they suck at reflecting. It's maybe, it's the biggest thing. Like with obviously what we do, if you manage to get someone through, like a transformation or whatever, like it kind of gets them they get to that 8 to 12 week period or whatever it may be. You then go back to, when you refer back to their initial pictures and you're like, fucking hell, look at the change.
Yeah.
Like, they're even like, oh fucking hell, I didn't realize I looked like that.
Yeah.
You kind of like, you have to.
Yeah, you do.
You have to reinforce it, right?
We're always striving for more, mate. Always. We're all getting like. I think that's why I know you're into this now, mate, and something that genuinely helped me so much in lockdown is just taking the time to write some stuff down. Like, like in your day, start your day. Write some intentions down. Write about how you want to kind of feel. Is that something that you would? I know you do a little bit of it yourself. Why would you say that's so important?
100%, mate. I've been one where I've been like in and out of journaling, but I'm like probably more so as of recent, where I've been like very, very consistent with it. And the biggest thing with it as well is it reminds you of who you want to be, and it reminds you of your future as well, and it gives you clarity on your day. And when you can think, even if you've had the shittest day, you put stuff down on paper, you can look back, reflect, and think, oh, you know what? I did get some stuff done, or didn't feel as bad as I thought I did. So I'm a huge like advocate of it now.
Something I'll sort of say with clients, mate, is like they'll sort of say like, I haven't got a biggest win. I think there's always a win if you look hard enough for it in your day. Yeah. There's always a win. Like anything can be the smallest win, but I think, as you say, it is super important, because one thing I used to struggle with a lot, and I still do, is overwhelm, like massively. And like I don't know if I saw this somewhere on your social feed perhaps as well, whereby like when you do get that overwhelm, that's when that procrastination starts to come in. So I just wondered if there's anything you've put in place to like double down on your time management type thing. Is anything?
Mate, being totally honest, that's something I'm still like trying to get better at as well. Like 100%, I'm far from perfect with dealing with that anyway. And I definitely have been very poor at dealing with my own stress and like overwhelm as well. Like journaling's like the big thing, I think. you mentioned, mate. That's that saying, right? Like gratitude is it's the number one killer of stress.
Yeah.
Number one killer of stress. And if with overwhelm as well, that all starts with your own thoughts. And if you're able to change your own, everything starts with a thought, mate. If you're able to change your perception and able to change your initial thoughts, like you end up being able to deal with that a lot better. But I'm by no means perfect, mate. And I'm doing programs and courses, like learning about this stuff anyway. So it's with this job, mate. With this job in terms of as well, what we both do, you're running your own business. It is not easy. It is not.
Do you think it's quite lonely?
Mate, massively. That's one big thing that I probably miss about PT, is having that routine and that social interaction, like face to face with people. So it is tough. You're a one man army at the end of the day.
Nobody's teaching you, mate, how to, like, when you get qualified as a PT. Nobody's teaching you how to run a business. Nobody's teaching you how to manage your time. Nobody's teaching you all these things. You're learning a bit of basic anatomy, and and not much else. You've got to do your own work, aren't you?
How to stick someone on the treadmill and warm them up.
Yeah, and it's like as if that's the best warm up. Whack them on there.
Mate, honestly, I wish. Who did you do your course with?
I did. Mate, they've gone under now. It was Premier
Oh,
Global.
it's one of the main ones, yeah.
Who did you do?
Yes. Origin, I think.
Origin. Yeah, they always text me still now. I need to unsubscribe to that.
Yeah. It's a funny old course, mate. It's a case of getting the certificate, isn't it?
Getting it done, mate. What does a routine look like for you? I'm always interested to know people's. I know daily routine. I mean, we know the power of a routine, mate. We know the power of structure. Like we try and encourage this with clients we work with because we know that if we have structure and we do it on a consistent basis with better habits, we're going to become a better version of ourselves. So, what's your routine like? What's a routine for Crofty?
Again, this is something that has taken me, especially when I made that transition from PT into online. This took me a while to figure out, and going through that little period where I didn't really know how do I sort of structure my day, that led to a lot of procrastination, and now it's sort of I'm a bit more meticulous with my work blocks and my boundaries. I say about things with that, don't get me wrong, there's still days where I'm on the laptop PC till like 9-10 o'clock at night or whatever, but yeah, I'm a little bit more I'm a little bit more strict with myself in the sense of, okay, you need to work at this time, phones off, airplane mode, here's your time where, okay, you reply to clients, So obviously, mate, as much as you can timetable stuff, like life happens, stuff changes, but it's I'm definitely a little bit more regimented. Like you said with routine, mate. Someone said this, I love this quote. Someone said to me ages ago, like motivation doesn't last, structure does. And that's the one thing that when you feel like you can't show up for yourself that day, or you're lacking motivation, mate, that's the one thing you fall back on is your routine and structure. And that's ultimately, mate, the more you can live by routine, and the more you can build sort of discipline, like I said, that you said the key word there, purpose, right?
Yeah, I think 100%, mate. I just and so like with that being said, like what is a routine for you, mate? How do you go about your day? So usually is it up, you straight into work, you go out for a walk? Like I've been reading a lot of stuff recently about getting out in that daylight straight away. It's hard. So like
I'll tell you what it is, has been as of recent and will be going forward, because I've written down that's been one, man, that's been kind of like probably one of my big goals for 2023 is actually nailing that on a consistent basis. Anyway, I've always been an early bird. Like I've always got up early. That's not been that's never really been an issue for me. I'm more of a probably a bit more of a morning person, in the sense of I like getting work done during that period. Like get towards the evening, start to struggle a little bit. So I've always been a morning person. At the minute, I'm made a promise myself it's 5:30 alarm at the minute.
Yeah.
And I will try. I'm going to make sure that first hour, mate, I'm not looking at my phone, because that's the big thing as well. I've been terrible. I'll be open and honest. I've been terrible with that. And it's funny because you tell clients not to do it, and then you still do it yourself. Like not looking at your phone for the first hour of the day, not looking at social media, having that first hour to like do my own thing. So like I said, whether it's bit of reading, journaling, going for like a 10-15 minute walk start a day, that first hour is like a bit of me time, and then I'll go into like first sort of like work block. My training, I've sort of as of when kind of fit it in, but it's probably been a bit sort of like mid-morning, come back and sort of another work block, and then it's Google Calendar. I rely heavily on this for, mate, as well, in terms of everything sort of.
You've got to map it out, mate, because what gets measured gets done, doesn't it? If it gets wrote down, it's going to get done. And I think I agree with what you're saying. That social media thing for me, that's been a big thing for me last couple of years. I think what I found is that once, why do I want to consume stuff before I'm setting my own intentions? That was it. Used to honestly, it used to fry my brain. Why am I doing it? I'm just, I'd like, I'd open it up, something would pop up that you don't necessarily need or want to be seeing at kind of 6 a.m. There'll be something on the news will come out, and you're almost just setting yourself up for a bit of a bad day, really.
100%, mate. You're just looking through absolute tosh, mate. That's
Yeah,
what you
you
look
really
through.
are. You really are, mate. It's like when you're on YouTube, and I'm a big lover of YouTube, and I'll start with something, and then before I know it, I'm watching like, mate, the weirdest of things. I'm like, geez, how do I end up here? But that's just what happens, isn't it? You go down these rabbit holes, and you end up there.
That's another thing, mate, as well. But like, you wonder why other people like are overwhelmed and stressed, mate. It's because they spend too much time looking at just absolute tosh. Fake. It's like, a lot of social media is fake realities, isn't it? So that
Yeah.
you wonder why, in terms of if you're constantly consuming stuff like that on a regular basis, like no
I
one.
think I think our generation, I think we just missed it because when I sort of speak to people now who are in their early 20s or a bit younger, they seem to be more driven by the kind of phone thing. I think I don't know. Would you? I'll use social media definitely. Like it's good for business as well. That's probably the main thing for me. But like, do you know where I'm kind of coming from? I think the young.
That
I sound like I'm an
young,
old man.
yeah. Well, that was the thing we caught. We
Yeah,
caught Instagram when it was cut like, but then
it's all you've
now,
ever known now. If you're growing
yeah.
up.
Well, now with like TikTok and all that sort of stuff, with that, everything's getting younger and younger, mate. Kids are getting phones younger. Kids are using social media younger. Like it is
Very
this next generation coming through, mate. I just think it's going to be it's going to be a world, mate.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Sure.
it's it's really scary, mate. It really is. Um, so no, what do you think? I know you've spent a lot of time kind of investing into these things and kind of stuff like that. What would you say? What's the main? In fact, why would you say it's so important to bring people in and surround yourself with people? Uh, to kind of take you forward. Why do you think that's so important? Like,
That's probably been a a big thing for me, that I was lucky in the sense of when I started doing what I was doing, I got into that semi early on.
yeah,
I got into that quite early on. So in terms of like, coaching and, hiring good coaches and, like, even like a business mentorship and things like that, that's, had massive impact on, I suppose, where I'm at now. But to flip on his head, mate, imagine kind of trying to imagine where I'd be having not done any of that.
oh,
And
crazy,
mate,
mate.
I'd be pretty damn far behind of, where I am now anyway. So it's kind of, the biggest thing is like surrounding yourself with people on the same
Yeah.
mission as you, people you can teach, people in this, like, maybe the same sort of period in their journey as you, and most importantly, people you can kind of learn from as well. And yeah, in terms of being, that's probably a big thing that I stress to people, especially if they need accountability or need help with anything, is get in some sort of group, get
You've
in some
just said
sort of
it
group.
there, the accountability as well.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it. I love it. It's yeah, I completely agree. Do you? Because I think it's a lot of it is just what we provide as coaches, isn't it? Is accountability, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't need it ourselves.
Mm,
We're only human, aren't we, as well?
100%, 100%.
So what's next for you, mate? Obviously, you've kind of you've transitioned. You've gone from kind of PT. You've now come fully online coach. Everything looks like it's going really well, mate. What's kind of next for you? Where we sort of headed?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think I've set some targets for myself, I think, from like a business standpoint, financial standpoint, And I think the big thing for me going forward anyway is, as like we all want to do, obviously, like, grow our business, be able to help impact as many people as possible. But I think for me is that sort of community aspect is a big thing, and that's something I'm still trying to push at the minute, in terms of getting people, especially like clients as well, mate, getting people like really buying into, the process themselves, but each other as well, in terms of providing that sort of support. So like the community aspect is something I'm looking to build, I think, these next sort of like 3, 6, 9, 12 months anyway. But to be honest, it's just I think carrying on with the hopefully fingers crossed momentum I've got.
Fingers crossed, momentum. I think that's the thing, isn't it? With, like, when people say about like a 5-year goal, like, or a vision, I prefer to call it a little bit of a vision. I think having visions are great. Like, I like a 12-month vision. I like to know where I like to think I'm headed. I know there's going to be hurdles and things, but like, you ask me where I'm going to be in 5 years,
No clue.
not really that sure, mate. Like, do you know what I mean? It's quite hard, isn't it, to kind of to think that far ahead.
Absolutely, mate. I said, I think working in, I think 12, like you said, mate, I think 12, I've set some like
12 months.
Yeah. And I work in quarters to do my best to get there anyway.
Because I guess if you're looking at it as from 12 months, that is overwhelming, isn't it? Without breaking it down into Q1, Q2, Q3. If you look at your 12-month goal, you think you've got to have some, how are you going to, you got to roadmap that out, haven't you? You got to know how you're going to get there.
Exactly.
I think that's something that, I know that's something we do as well. I'd like to think a lot of coaches do with their clients. I know there is some that maybe aren't doing that, but like, it's important, isn't it, to have that.
You set a goal, mate, and then you've got to reverse engineer the process. That's the most important thing.
And how does someone do that?
Like I said, I think you touched on at the start, mate, with like small wins. Like I said, there's always a goal, especially when, if a client jumps on board, a client has a goal, roadmap that journey. What are the phases? What are the necessary phases that we need to take in order to get to get you from A to get you to B? And the biggest thing as well is those small wins along the way that are going to set you up to box or tick the boxes off that you need to tick off anyway. But yeah, that's always the first thing, is especially when a client comes on board, it's making sure that process is reverse engineered, so they have a clear vision and a clear map in terms of, okay, I can see this is what I need to do if I want to get to where I want to get to. It's just making sure I do the do at the end of the day as well. And that's obviously come into play, and obviously coaching through that process. And
I think a lot of the time as well, mate, is that I think often an individual may come with you thinking that initially they want to be a certain way. They want to get to this number on the scale, and they don't truly within. That's not really what they want, is it? It's like, why let's say, why do you want to lose 3 stone? What is it that's going to bring you? And I think something we have spoken about this morning is obviously getting super clear on that and delving in, like, what's that going to bring you? You've got to ask better questions, haven't you, to get
everything starts, mate, with asking better questions. That's 100%. The best bit of advice, mate, is asking better questions. And I spoke about this a lot recently with, like, I just want to lose body fat. It's not good enough anymore.
It's not. You're not specific. You're not being specific enough, are you? It's like, even when I'm writing tasks down, like for this morning, it's going to be like, I wrote maybe like 3 or 4 notes down, but I knew based on us knowing each other that. But like, you've got to be super clear on the time. I'm a bit meticulous with it, really, but I think you've got to be, haven't you? You've got to be specific.
100%, mate. That's one of the main reasons why people will always fall short of their goals in the first place, is there isn't enough specificity, and it's not a goal that unfortunately excites them. Because on the days they don't want to do something, they ain't going to do it.
Exactly, because there's going to be days, mate, where you can't be asked. There's days where we all can't be asked. But like, you find this, don't you? I want to lose. If you ask them questions, a lot of it will come out. They want to feel better naked. Do you know what I mean? They want to feel better. We're not. admit, like make it a thing, you know, because that's what's going to get you out of bed, isn't it? If that's, you know what I mean, rather than saying, like you say, I don't mind losing, you know, £10 a body. We've got to get, yeah. Mate, I've got
That was
a
a
bit
good,
of a,
mate. That was good. That was very good. Ask better questions, mate. It's one of the best bits of advice, honestly.
and like
People need to start asking themselves better questions.
just like there's always a how, why, what, you know, and it's one thing that I've learned a lot over these last few months is it's difficult though, isn't it? When let's just roll back a little bit to kind of like, you know, when you first ever write, because I've people have been asking me a lot about journaling recently, and they sort of say, how the hell do you do it? Like, what? There's no set rule book, as long as like when you're looking at it, remember the first time you like you feel a bit silly, don't you? Do you know, like you know, there's no real set way how to do it. You've just got to, I guess, start with your intentions and things like that. But yeah, it's difficult. It's hard.
Yeah, I think with the like you said there with the journaling side of stuff, there is no right or wrong way. You could write a bunch of bloody words on a paper, but there's no right or wrong way to start. I think the best thing for people to do would get something that would give you prompts, get something that give you prompts anyway in terms of if you don't know where to start. But
Yeah.
there's loads of mate. I've got them all here. I've got them all
Oh
here.
yeah.
I've spent. You can see I've spent so much. Gosh,
High performance planner.
mate, honestly, I've gone through them all, Joshy boy. I've gone through them all. So,
Look,
like I
if
said,
the audience, to the audience out there, if you need to get a planner, hit Crofty up. He's going to advise you. He's done them all. You've got your own now, haven't you?
yeah. Well, no, I created like a daily performance planner for clients anyway.
Nice.
There's like a part of a welcome pack, which is
That's
pretty
great,
cool.
mate.
Yeah, no,
That's
it's pretty cool. To be fair, it's pretty cool. But like I said, it's trying to. People need to do it. I honestly, I'm not one of these like I don't know what the word is, but airy fairy, like
yeah,
you
yeah,
have to just like. But I'm such an advocate of it now that I do think it's a massive thing that isn't in people's life that they should be doing. They should be doing. You wonder why people. You wonder why people are stressed. You wonder why people are overwhelmed. Wonder why people don't have time, lack of ability to prioritize. Like
yeah.
it comes down with just putting pen to paper. A lot of this stuff.
I think a lot of it as well, mate, is I don't think I think it's a lot more spoken about now, but like it can be in men, can't it, as well? Like we're not people always thought you can't be in touch with your emotions as a guy, and it's just this whole like, you know, you've got a man up type thing, but you got to move on from that now.
No,
You know?
it's all gonna change, mate. It's
Yeah,
absolutely change.
mate. Cold showers. Are you in or are you out?
You know what? It's funny you said that. Again, it's something it's one of them, mate. I've gone through phases with all this stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
I completely get the idea of it,
yeah.
and like I said, even in the morning, like this morning, I'll try get out for a walk. Like obviously it's cold in the morning, right? But no, it's not as cold as cold showers. But I'll try to get out for kind of like a walk, sort of semi close to first thing in the morning. Anyway, I completely get why people do it. That's not to say I won't.
Yeah.
I can imagine myself conforming to it at some point. I just haven't.
You haven't done it yet.
Not just yet. Anyway, not just
I
yet.
think, yeah, I think for like, I mean, I've done the same. Mate. I've dipped in and out. I would love to get an actual kind of
Yeah.
bath if we had the sort of space to get it
You
in.
can get
But
the people just getting like bins now, aren't they? And
yeah,
yeah.
just get the blue bin round. Just fill that up. Off we go. Jobs are good. Mate, I've got a closing question for you. And what I want to know is, mate, what is success to Crofty? What is it? I know success is different for different people. What is it to you?
Oh, this is a good question, mate. This is a good question. I think a big thing for me at some point is kind of freedom. I think freedom to, I suppose, freedom to, I'm not saying to kind of like obviously do what I want, but freedom in the sense of like I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm working. I know I'm waking up with a you know a real purpose every single day, every single week. And I think I'm definitely very lucky in the sense of like, I really enjoy what I do. I could not imagine myself doing anything else. So, I think in that sense, I'm hopefully on the way to to being successful anyway. But I think a big thing for me will be freedom. But like I said, freedom comes in, I think, again, just like success comes in many different forms. Many different forms. But yeah, freedom's the word that sort of sticks out to me anyway.
I love that, mate. I love that. I'm always interested again, like you say. I completely understand what you mean as well, mate. Like just being, yeah, that I know freedom's a big topic, but I kind of understand the angle you're coming at. It's just knowing that you're up and you're doing the things that you love, and you've got the ability to kind of, you've got to get excited for things, aren't you? And I guess it's freedom. Yeah, for me, it would be almost to ensure that there's excitement. There's got to be trying to be one exciting thing in each given day type thing, and just be kind of free from it a little bit. Yeah, I kind of know what you mean with that.
Yeah, it's I don't know. That was probably one of my biggest. That was, mate, my biggest thing when I came back from Oz. Anyway, that like I I dreaded, mate, the thought of not doing something I enjoyed, and that's why where I think I could have easily went down the route of working in an office or 9 to 5 or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
and I know I'm sure people would have helped me out and things like that, like getting that getting that foot in the door. But I knew it wasn't me. I knew it wasn't me anyway. So yeah, I think that was always my biggest worry, is not doing something I wanted to do. And yeah, luckily anyway, I found it anyway.
Glad to hear it, mate. Glad to hear it. Mate, so where can the audience find you, mate? Give yourself a minute, 90 seconds. Plug the shit out of it. No.
I
Where
haven't
can
got loads, mate. Instagram,
yeah.
Crofty underscore fit. It's the same on I'm dabbling into TikTok every so often as well at the minute. But
There we go.
yeah, it's just Instagram handles Crofty underscore fit.
Good. Mate, I just want to say thank you for actually, for us being able to, create the time to do this, mate. It's been great to catch up. And I think hopefully there's been some things in there that, people may be able to take away. And I think you can't really put a price on having good conversations with good people and people who are similar and moving in the same direction. We spoke about environment. And I think this is what this is. So it is great to do that, mate. So yes, mate. I'd just say thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it, Josh boy. I appreciate your time, mate. I said
we might do a 2.0 in person, mate. Who knows? We'll see.
We'll have to grab a few beers in London or something.
I was going to say grab a monster, but yeah, we can definitely do that.
Monster, yeah.
All right, mate. Well, thanks for coming on, bud. And I will speak to you too, mate.
Top man.